Hi, and welcome to Mondays with Marlo. Today we really have a treat for you. We have Cindy Crawford. You know, I have to say to you, Cindy, you are so gorgeous all the time that it's just really time that you have to share your beauty secrets with the rest of us.
Well,
and
thank
we have
you.
a thousand questions here asking you, how do you do it? So we're going to start right off.
Okay.
The first one is from Carrie. And she says, your skin looks so amazing. Can you share your daily skincare regimen?
Well, I actually get asked that question a lot. And I think really as a model, I always saw that my job was to take care of my skin. And in doing so, I hooked up with this doctor in Paris who's been taking care of my skin for the last 15 years. And he and I developed a skincare line together, Meaningful Beauty. So really, people have seen my infomercials and everyone always says, is that what you really use? It is what I really use because I actually developed it for myself. So I use Meaningful Beauty,
So
and
what's
it's
the name
pretty
of it?
basic. It's called Meaningful Beauty, and
is it
I do
And it's
cleanser.
a cleanser?
Yeah, and then I have moisturizer for day with sun protection, and different cream at night for restoring your skin. And then we have different, depending if you have dark circles or problems like that, we have different kind of specific
Oh, well, this
products.
is great. I didn't know about it. Great.
Yeah, so that is really what I use. So if you check
That's
out the
great.
infomercial.
This is from Barb. She wants to know, what's the biggest change to your beauty regimen since you've gotten older?
I am more loyal. I make sure I do it. I think when you're young, you can skip on a few things and get away with it. And just like you don't need quite as much sleep and you can still look okay. And now I'm 45, I am much more, I always use sun protection. I always take off my makeup. I always put night cream on. I always put, my eye cream on because I know that doing those little things every day really do add up to make a difference.
That's great. I think
What
that's
about
very,
you?
very true.
What about you? What's changed for
the
you?
same.
Okay, good.
I think pretty much the same thing. And I use an eye cream now. I never used an eye cream before.
Yeah.
And now I use an eye cream. And also, I get a facial once a week.
Once
I
a
really
week?
love
Wow.
getting a facial. So
I
I
get
think
one-
that's really kept my...
I get
And
a
that's
facial once a month, and I definitely love that.
Do you?
Yeah, but and eye cream, I guess I've always used, but for sure I use it every day.
Right, yeah, me too. I didn't even know there was such a thing for years. Here's another good question, from Dana. She wants to know, how did you get your amazing body back after having the babies?
It's not. Look, I am happy with my body now, but it's not my old body. And I always tease my daughter. I'm like, you have my body and I want it back. It's not the same. But look, it's taken me on this journey that I've been on for 45 years. I had both my children at home naturally. In some ways, I appreciate my body more now because I know what it's capable of. And I've been working out and being fit since I was 20. And again, same with what you talked about, skincare. If you do that, if it becomes part of your life, it does add up. To work out for a week, you're not going to see a difference. But I've been working out for 25 years, and it's part of my life. And so that does add up.
Is to have a continuous regimen of working out. That's kind of what you're saying?
Well, I think to anyone, it's like the problem with diets is you're either on a diet or off a diet. And same with kind of people who go on an exercise kick and they do it for a month and then they're off of it. That's not going to give you the greatest success. I think just choosing to eat healthy. I always say I want to be 80% good, 80% of the time, because that's manageable for me. And with working out, I try to work out 3 times a week and maybe a hike or a walk with my husband or a girlfriend. That's manageable for me. But when you do that every week, week after week, and year after year, it adds up.
Right. I do it too. I work out 4 days a week, and I love it. I actually love to work out.
And what do you do? What's your workout?
I live on the park in Central Park. Over the park, And
Oh,
I go out
great.
in the park any day, as long as it's not icy. I'll go in rain, snow, whatever. I'm just afraid of the ice. But I go out in the park, and there's a lot of steps, and there's some hills. And if it's too bad out, then I go on my treadmill. But I love the aerobic, and I also do weight training.
Yeah, and I think those two elements are really important for every woman. But it can be anything. Hiking with a girlfriend, you get cardio and you get therapy.
Right.
So I think that's a
That's
2 for 1. I'm
right.
always up for that. But other days I go on and I jump on the treadmill, and it doesn't have to be for 45 minutes. If you only have 20 minutes, just do 20 minutes. It's better than nothing. It's just about moving your body.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, it is. And I had a trainer one time who used to always say to me, just do what you can, but do something. Do what you can, but you got to do something every day. Here's a question from JD. JD says, Cindy, how do you do it all? What's your secret?
Some days better than others. I think, again, I believe that women can have it all, but not at the same time. And I think that, certainly what was a priority for me in my 20s was different than in my 30s, is different than now that I'm in my 40s. And you kind of pick what you're going to give your time to, because that's your most valuable asset. And then what I have found helps me is to be very organized and realistic about how long things take. So I love a schedule, I love routine, I'm very organized, and that enables me to do all the things in my life that I want to do.
Exactly. I totally agree. I have a calendar, and I live by my calendar. It's my Bible.
I think you're like me that way.
I am.
Right.
Here's a very good question from...
And no one better mess me up.
That's right, because it's in ink.
Exactly.
Here's a good question from Roberta. Roberta wants to know, what was your most memorable photo shoot?
Oh, I don't think I could pick one. I mean, I've done so many photo shoots over the years. But certainly I had special relationship with certain photographers. Unfortunately, most of the ones that I started out with have passed away, but certainly working with Herb Ritz was probably the most collaborative experience that I had as a model, and I did many shoots with him. One of the more memorable ones was when I was dressed as different characters for Rolling Stone. So I was dressed as a boy and as kind of a Tina Turner inspired character and as Marilyn Monroe. That was a great shoot. And then I also really...
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, and I also loved working with Helmut Newton because he was just so different, and he kind of had crazy ideas, and he wasn't afraid to go for it. So those two in particular stand out, but I've had great trips. I've shot in the Great Wall in China. I've ridden an elephant in India. So it's really hard to pick just one.
Wow, that's amazing. Here's one from Angeline. She says, I have been a fan of yours, Cindy, since you gave a memorable fashion tip on House of Style, which was to rub your clothing together to get rid of white deodorant marks rather than a wet rag. It really works. Do you have any other favorite fashion tips?
Oh, wow. That's so funny. I love doing House of Style. It was such a new thing at the time. It really was when TV wasn't covering fashion that much. That is a good tip, but now I found these other little things called Gal Pals, and they're little pink sponges, and they don't... So that's another great way to get deodorant off the clothes, because so many clothes these days, you can't, if you put your deodorant on first, which most of us do, there's no way to get your clothes on without getting, streaky deodorant on it. But those little sponges are great. And also toupee tape. And I'm sure you know this, Marlo, from being on sets. We use a lot of double stick tape, and the toupee tape happens to be the strongest. And if you're ever worried about your blouse, maybe, if the buttons are pulling and it's going to come open, or you want the shoulders to sit a certain place, a little double stick tape helps.
That's a good tip. I do that. That's a very good tip. This one is from Kate.
Yeah, I always have those in my purse.
Oh, really? Just in case you have any accidents?
Yeah, I just put, yeah, exactly. I don't want those wardrobe malfunctions.
That's right. This is from Kate. Everyone is asking beauty questions, but of course you also have a home furnishing brand. So what inspired you to get into this new business?
Well, it was an evolution. I think as a model, I traveled so much that to come home to my apartment was always like, that was my safe little cocoon. And in having that apartment, I spent a lot of care in decorating it so that it really felt like my safe harbor. And as my life evolved over the years and moving from New York to LA and then getting married to my husband, I had an opportunity to decorate a few different apartments and then a couple houses as I moved. And one of those houses was photographed in Elle Decor, and that gave this man named Jeff Seaman, who you probably remember Seaman's Furniture in New York.
Oh yeah, sure.
He now has a company so he has a company in the Southeast called Rooms to Go. And when he saw, I don't know, me and this picture of my house, I guess a little light bulb went off in his head, and he wanted to, he called me to say, would I be interested in starting a line of furniture with him? And at first, I was personally, but I wasn't sure how that fit with how the people saw me. But I guess what I came to realize is, style is style. How it goes, and everyone has style. It doesn't, good, bad, whatever you want to say, but everything you choose, like from the music you play to your iPhone cover to what you serve to people when they come over for dinner, what kind of candles scent you like, all of that adds up. And I felt like if people were interested in as my style as a model, that maybe they would be interested in how I saw home and home decor. And so we started this furniture line, and fortunately it was well received. And then I teamed up with JCPenney to do top of bed and towels and kitchen, because once I started with furniture, I found like I wanted to do more. And that's been really fun and a totally new world for me and different people. And even though it's related to fashion, it's not like New York hardcore fashion shows, fashion
Right.
people. So it's really felt like it reflects who I am today.
That's so interesting, because a style is so personal that you rarely would go to somebody's home and be shocked by how they live. It kind of looks like how they dress, and how the grace of how they
Absolutely.
behave. Yeah, it's very much. I don't think I would walk into
Right, or even
anybody's
the
house.
car you drive.
Yeah, exactly. It all kind of fits. So that's interesting. Okay, here we move now to Tracy. What do you think about weight training versus aerobics? If you only have time to do one and you want to be toned, which one would you advise?
You can't pick. That's like Sophie's Choice.
That's right. I agree completely.
Right? You need, as for look, we all need cardio for health of our heart, and that certainly helps with weight control. Although, let's be honest, weight control has less to do with exercise than it does with what you eat. But you need to do weight training for your health of your skeleton, and especially for women as we get older, to keep our bones strong, to have good posture, to not worry about falling. So you can't really pick one. And I also think you got to add a little bit of yoga in there for flexibility.
Right. Yeah, stretching is very important if you can't do yoga. Stretching is very, very important. I
Right.
completely agree. One of these questions wants to know, what about a vitamin regimen? Do you take a lot of vitamin supplements?
I do take some supplements, and I kind of go in and out of it if I'm feeling a little more run down than others, or if I'm, I don't know, at my chiropractor and they recommend, oh, you maybe need a little bit of this. Like I do take a omega, I take krill oil, but it's similar to fish oil. I take vitamin D.
And calcium? Do you take calcium?
I do. I take calcium. Yep, I absolutely take calcium. But sometimes it can be a little overwhelming to know what to take. So I think that's such a personal thing. You have to have like a healthcare person that you trust and are working with, and who's open to a little bit of alternative, I think, who helps guide you, because you go into one of those vitamin stores and you just, you think you need everything, and then, yeah.
It's overwhelming. How often should a woman get a facial, and which kind? Now, I said I I get one once a week, you get one once a month, but which kind is the question? So do you have one that you recommend?
Well, it depends on your skin. I don't think there's one, it's not one size fits all. What works for me, and I've been doing about for 10 years now, is a microdermabrasion. But not even all microdermabrasions are the same. You know, the woman that I go to, she's very gentle. So I can walk out of a facial and go directly to lunch with no makeup on. I don't believe in like beating up the skin too much and damaging it. And that's why I haven't really been a fan of like those, I don't know, peels where people look like they were in a fire and then I guess it flakes off. But Dr. Sabah, the man that I do my skincare line with, he is not a believer in damaging the skin to make it look better. So I do like facials because I do wear a lot of makeup for work and I think it helps really clean the skin. But I think you can do almost as much at home you need good exfoliation because you need to get the dead skin off, and then you need good products.
And I think when I get my
what kind of facial do you like?
They also I go to Tracy Martin, and she does a mild dermabrasion, but she also does oxygen. Puts a lot of oxygen into your skin.
Oh yeah, I've had that too.
And different and an exfoliation mask, so that it feels really clean. And I wear a lot of makeup as well in my work, so I'm glad to get that. It was my New Year's resolution a couple of years ago. Every year I make one New Year's resolution because I know I won't keep more than one, and that was my resolution a year ago. By the end of 10 years,
I make the same one almost. No.
Do you?
I make the same one almost every year, and guess, mine is always the same. It's to say no more.
Aw.
Because
well, I'm glad you didn't say
I think
no to
we
us.
all get no, but it's like, look, there's so many great things to do, but again, as we talked about before, with time being so valuable, sometimes you get pulled in all these different directions, and you end up doing things, and then there's nothing worse than saying yes to something and then not want to be doing it. So now I really try to, if I say yes to something, I'm fully committed and it's because I want to be there. And then stuff that I'm ambivalent about or not sure about, I just pass on because I always have something better to do, which is spend time with my family.
Right. Well, that comes from experience. You learn it after a while, that you just can't say yes. I used to feel so bad saying no. But I've turned it around to be happy to say yes when I say yes. I think that's a good idea.
Yes.
Oh, here's a good question from Mel. Mel wants to know, does your husband share the parenting and house responsibilities with you?
50-50? Look, Randy, he's a great dad, and he's a great partner, and we have a lot of fun, but we certainly have different roles in the family. You know, if something breaks in the house, he's the one that deals with the plumber, and I'm very grateful for that. But I'm the one making sure all the kids' homework is done and packed in the backpacks, and you know, I kind of in charge of the schedule, I guess. And then I would have to say, in terms of parenting, I'm a little bit more of the, I wouldn't say bad cop, but you know, hey guys, it's time for bed, eat your vegetables, get up, do your homework. You know, I guess I'm like the family nag.
Well, there's got to be one, but he's there with you. He's sharing.
Someone's got to do it. Yes, he totally supports me, yes.
Good. Do you wear, this is from Erica, do you wear sunscreen every day over your moisturizer? And what is your morning regimen?
Well, I do wear sunscreen every day, especially because I live in Southern California where it's usually sunny, I'm happy to say. And I use my moisturizer that I use, which is from Meaningful Beauty, my line has SPF 20 in it. So it's nice because it's not two separate steps. And I also use an SPF, and I think women, please do not forget your décolleté or your neck, chest area, and your hands. So I'll put it on my face and then any extra on my hands. I make sure I do my chest. And then if I'm going to the beach or I really know I'm going to be in the sun, I'll even use a much stronger SPF on my face. And again, that's the kind of thing, I mean, we all probably, you know, I certainly laid out when I was in junior high and high school and, you know, fried myself. But as soon as I started modeling, I stopped doing that. And I think that that's gone a long way. I haven't further damaged my skin. You know, I'm careful. I put a hat on if I'm in the sun. Just all those things. We all know to do it. It's just, again, it's committing to doing it.
Absolutely. I remember when I was in high school, we used to put Crisco on our faces, Crisco, and hold a reflector too. It's amazing that I have any skin left at all. But
baby oil.
oh yeah, with iodine in it. Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah, I had the reflector and the baby oil. Yeah.
I know. We're lucky we look all right. This is from Allie. How do you feel about permanent makeup? Like there's a permanent eyeliner, permanent lip liner, permanent eyebrow pencil. How do you feel about the permanent makeups?
Right. Well, I think that if you are considering getting permanent makeup, you better think long and hard, because there's no one style that I like that much. However, I have seen, for one of my grandmother's sisters got it, for her eyebrows. She's older. She doesn't have a steady hand. Maybe her vision isn't as good. And so she filled in her eyebrows a little bit, and that helped her feel better. I guess eyebrows is about the only place that maybe I would think about it, because eyeliner, some days you just don't want to look like you're wearing eyeliner and you can't take that off. Or lip liner, what changes are styles and colors, and which one would you commit to? But I think there's circumstances where it's a great thing for people who have, again, who maybe don't have a steady hand, or their vision isn't good enough to put that makeup on. So I would never want to say, oh, I think it's horrible, but I would use it very discriminately.
That's good advice. I hadn't thought about the steady hand. You're right. That would be good for an older woman. But I know a lot of younger women who are getting the eyeliner. What is a product that you cannot live without, that you have to use every single day?
Wow. I don't think it would be a beauty product. I would, let's see. I guess the SPF day cream, because I just know how important it is to protect your skin, not only from the sun, but also from all the other, things in the environment.
The pollutants,
so
yeah.
That's important.
And what do you think, this is from Samantha, what do you think has been the most innovative development in women's skin care? That's one of her questions. And the other one is, what do you think about the Clarisonic brushes to cleanse the skin?
Well, it's funny because everyone always focuses, especially ever since I turned 40, I get asked so many questions about, skincare, and well, would you ever do plastic surgery, or what would you think about this? And I say, you guys are talking about the wrong thing. The biggest thing that's made a difference in women looking young longer is hair color. Way bigger than Botox or collagen injections. Because, look, I certainly get my hair colored. I would assume you do too, Marlo. I would look different with gray hair.
I sure do.
And that is so good hair
Yes.
color surpasses any skincare advancement that you can have. In terms of the Clarisonic brush, I haven't used one, but I've seen that, and I think, again, it is like a little bit like a microdermabrasion, so it's a mild exfoliation. That's a great way of getting it. There's also other ways of getting it, so it just depends what you like. It's kind of like with exercise. If you don't like running, pick something else. But no matter what, it is important to exfoliate your skin, and you can do that with a chemical like a glycolic, or you could do it with a buff puff. You can do it with the Clarisonic brush. So it's just what feels right to you.
Right. I tried that glyconic, and my skin was too sensitive for that. It really burned my skin at any level. I just couldn't take it. Yeah. So you have to be careful when if you're going to try something. If you're going to try something, anything that we're talking about, anybody listening in, try something small first, or the lowest level of it, because you can burn your skin.
And also really read the directions, because people tend to think that more is more, or, oh, if it says leave it on for 5 minutes, I'm going to leave it on for 10 and I'm going to get really great results. It really doesn't work that way. So you really have to respect the directions. If it says, try it on a patch of your skin first, you probably should follow those directions.
Right, exactly. This is a really nice question. And this comes from somebody named Storm. What do you hope to teach your children, especially your daughter, about beauty and life? Those are two big questions.
Yeah. I think I've been a parent long enough to know that the best way to teach your children is not by talking to them. They look to you and they watch you, and that's how they learn. So I guess, in terms of beauty, you can't deny just like certain flowers are beautiful, there's certain people that have a physical beauty that is neither something that's makes them better than anyone else, but it's also no point in not recognizing it either. It's just there. So I think that, I guess, to teach my children not to judge like anybody for anything, it would be important to me. And just to learn to accept and love themselves, and having come from the world that I come from, and having to maintain a certain weight for most of my career, which fortunately for me isn't that big of a struggle. But I don't want my daughter to think, wow, I have to deprive myself in order to be pretty. So if we go out for ice cream as a family, I will order an ice cream. I don't usually eat the whole thing, but I don't want her to associate being pretty or being thin with deprive. There's a way, it's all about balance, and I can really teach that best by living it.
That's a great example of you having that ice cream cone just so that she can enjoy herself and not feel that she has to deprive herself in order to be pretty. That's a great piece of advice. At the Ms. Foundation, we always used to say, your daughter is watching, what is she seeing? And that's so true. It's so true. This is a wonderful question. This is somebody called KL. My son has a mole on his nose that he's incredibly self-conscious about. He says it makes him ugly. How did you feel about your mole as a child?
Well, the funny thing is I have a son with a mole on his face right here, and he thinks it's ugly. And I'm like, how can you say that to me, of all people? But kids don't like anything that makes them different or to stand out. And I remember being very self-conscious of my mole all through junior high and high school. And my sisters, because sisters are sisters, would tell me that mine was not a beauty mark, because if it's on a beauty mark, it has to be on this side. That actually it's an ugly mark if it's on the left side. So I kind of grew up with that. And my mother actually was super smart. She was kind of wise beyond her years because she was a very young mother. But she said to me, look, if you want to get it removed, you can get it removed. She said, here's the thing, though. You don't know what that scar will look like, and you know what your mole looks like. So it's up to you. And I guess first of all, her not forbidding me to get it removed was, okay, she's not telling me I can't. And then she just kind of gave me a choice, and I ended up, leaving it on. And oddly enough, or, of course, that's just the way it works out usually, the very thing that I was the most self-conscious about became the thing that set me apart as a model. Like, people remembered, even if they didn't know my name, who's that girl with the beauty mark? So, when young people come up to me with a similar question, I remind them of that, because who knows, without that, I might not have had the career that I had.
It's all in the mole.
Exactly.
That's great. That's great. That's great. This is from LT. Your life has been pretty glamorous and remarkable. Is there something you still hope to do, to accomplish, or to achieve?
I have all these lofty ideas of learning to speak French or play the piano, or, when I'm finally going to have time to get really good at yoga. But I have had an incredible life, and I think what I try to do right now, like, it's not necessarily to do more or different. It's to be open to opportunity, and also to just be present in every situation. So if I'm with my kids, that I'm really with my kids and focusing on being with them and having fun, not thinking about work or something else I should be doing. But on the other hand, when I'm at work, not feeling guilty that I'm at work, giving it my best, enjoying the people that I'm working with, that's kind of what my focus of my life is right now.
This is from Debbie. Cindy, if you had to do it all over again, would you still have been a model? Or would you have gone into something different? Weren't you going to be an engineer at one point? What did you study? Didn't I read somewhere?
I did. I was in chemical engineering at Northwestern, but only really so that I could get a scholarship. I don't even know to this day what a chemical engineer does. So that was just like I could go to school for free until I figured out what I really wanted to do. I think I probably would have been a teacher. Both my sisters are teachers. But if I had it to do all over again and I could have the same outcome, I certainly would choose the path that I took, because I've learned so much. I'm from a small town in Illinois. I've got to travel the world. I've got to learn about different places and different people. My whole world just opened up in a whole way that I didn't even know was out there. And I've had fun. And it's probably hard for people to understand, but modeling isn't just about how you look, because there's beautiful, beautiful girls who in front of the camera maybe don't know what to do, or it's just the camera doesn't respond to them. And then there's other people who maybe you see them on the street, they don't look like anything special, but the second you get hair and makeup and them in front of the camera, they just come alive. And so there is some skill involved to modeling. And I've been doing it now for more than half my life. And I'm actually, I'm finally like confident about what I can deliver in front of the camera. Like, I know how to do my job. And I think that is very satisfying, no matter what job you're doing. Just that satisfaction of, oh yeah, people are asking this of me and I know I can deliver.
You know, it's interesting that you say this. It reminds me, we did a St. Jude gala in Los Angeles, and it was called Runway for Life. And we asked all kinds of stars, men and women, Robin Williams, Jennifer Aniston, me and Phil, everybody modeled. And it was great. It was like 50 different people and you. And I'll never forget when we looked at the tape of all of it, my brother and I were sitting together and we said, oh, of course, that's how you do it. Nobody could walk the way you could. Nobody came out the way you did. It's really a skill. And it was so amazing because everybody was good looking. Everybody had good bodies, but everybody else were actors, and you knew how to walk. And it was really startling to see. And I think,
I was just going to say, I wasn't necessarily born that way, but I've done it enough that I've gotten better at it. And I remember that show because it was so fun, because everyone was wanting pointers. How do we walk? How do we smile? Do we smile? Do we turn? What should we do? And it was fun kind of giving them the little behind-the-scenes pointers.
It's true. No, I'm sure. It's a skill. I grant you that. It's definitely a skill. You're not born walking that way. But it was something. You could certainly have a school, I'll tell you that. All right, we just have a few seconds left here. We want to know from Sally, how does your husband feel being married to someone so famous?
I think in the beginning, I don't think he would. Actually, when he was given an opportunity to meet me through a friend, he didn't really want to meet me because I think he thought I was going to be a certain way. But then after we met, I think that he got over that pretty quickly. And fortunately, he's the type that he's happy to be one step behind. He does not want the limelight. So he's actually happy that I have to, he uses me as a shield sometimes so that he can kind of sneak in quietly. And he has such a strong sense of self-esteem, and he's been successful in his own right and in his own world, that it never feels like it's a problem or competition.
That's great. That's great. And we haven't asked a question yet, and I have it a couple of times here, and this one is from Sue. What is your diet like? You said that you eat well 80% of the time. You do 80% good. But what is that like? Is that mostly vegetables? Do you eat any meat and fish?
Well, I mean, like the obvious things. Like I don't drink. I don't drink a lot of sugary drinks. I don't eat a lot of fried food. There's the certain things that you can just cut out. No brainers, right? I mean, we all know what those are. And then, but what I usually for breakfast could be anything. This morning I had a protein shake because I had 2 different carpool drop-off times. So it's easier to take it to go. But I'll have oatmeal sometimes, or I'll have egg whites with a piece of whole wheat bread and some tomato. You know, I don't eat a ton of like, you know, I love bagels, but I don't have it, like I would never eat like what I thought I could eat when I was 20. You could have like a bagel with like cream cheese and all this stuff. If I have bagels now, I slice it into like 4 thin slices and throw away 2 of them. You know, for me, bread is the thing that I love, but doesn't love me, or maybe loves me too much and doesn't want to leave.
I pretty much cut out bread too, and I love it. I'm Italian, so I love it. Is your weight about the same, or have you gained weight? What is your, I'm not asking you how much you weigh because women don't like to answer that, but is it about the same, or since your big modeling days, have you gained 10 pounds, 15 pounds? What's your weight? What's the difference in your weight?
I'm probably within 5 pounds.
Really?
But it's different. Like certainly my waist got thicker after I had kids. That's probably a big change. My waist just is different. I actually got thinner after having my first kid, and I think just because I was so busy and running around and maybe not eating well, that actually after my first child, I actually was thinner than before.
Oh, wow.
Not that everything was in the same place, unfortunately. But the weight thing for me is not, it's very hard for me to lose weight, but it's also kind of, it would be hard for me to gain a lot of weight too, unless I really, you know, was eating Haagen-Dazs every night, which I don't.
Right. We have one last question, and the last question is, and it's a big one, what could you tell us about your philosophy of life?
Well, I kind of got into that a few questions back, where I've just realized that someone asked me recently, are you happy? Or rate yourself on a happiness scale. And I said, you know, my goal in life is not just to be happy, because you know, that just seems, my goal is to be present, and not everything in life is happy. So if my child's upset about something, I don't try to like falsely just cheer them up. I would rather be present with them in that moment and help them learn or grow, or whatever the point of is that moment for them. And if, you know, so it's about being present. So I guess that's my biggest philosophy, is being present in the moment, not trying to, you know, if something's sad, not being afraid of that, and, you know, to go there and to feel it, because you always come out the other side. It's kind of hard to give the whole philosophy in a few minutes.
Yeah, but that's great. Being present is a great way of putting it, because everything you press down is going to just ferment in there and come out in a bad way to hurt yourself.
Right.
So I think that's a brilliant answer, to be present.
Thank you.
Well, we're all done with our time. We had a half hour with you. You're great to have done this. I know you're very busy with your carpools and your life and your husband and your modeling, and I know you do so much work for other people. You've certainly helped me with St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. So you're just a good person all around. You're beautiful in and out, Cindy, and we thank you so much, and don't think I'm not going to buy everything you said. I'm going to get all the makeup stuff, all the little gal pal things. I'm going to take everything to heart. And thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Oh, loved it. See you next week.